Welcome students to my virtual classroom of biology. In today's class, we'll see what is transportation in living organism. First of all, let us see what is transportation. Generally, what do you mean by transportation? Is the movement of any material from one part to another, from one region where it is available to the another region where it is shortage is there. Similarly, in living organism also, transportation of various items occurs through various means. In lower organisms, mostly those are aquatic plants or aquatic animals or unicellular organisms, the transportation occurs mainly through diffusion. I hope all of you know what is diffusion. In class 9 already you have studied both in biology and in chemistry also what is diffusion. If you have any confusion, you can ask me, you can comment in comment box. Okay. Now in higher organism, the transportation occurs through cell to cell movements by which the materials moves from one cell to another cell through diffusion. But for the long distance transport of materials, they have transport systems. Animals, they have circulatory systems through which transportation occurs, and in case of plants, they have vascular bundles. Now what is vascular bundle? Vascular bundle, it comprises connective tissues of xylem and phloem. So through this xylem and phloem, the transportation of essential materials occurs in plants. Now first of all, we will study about transportation in human beings. Now, transportation in human being, it is carried out by circulatory system. The circulatory system in our body, it comprises a circulatory fluid, which is of course blood. Then we have a vast network of tubes in our body of different shapes, different sizes. These are known as arteries, veins and capillaries. We have another pumping organ which is known as heart to push the blood throughout the body. Now, what is blood? Blood is a fluid connective tissue that consists of fluid medium, which is known as plasma, in which the cells are suspended. Through blood, transport of different substances is mediated. The different components of blood are if we classify them, then we can say this is broadly in two categories. In first category, the particle components, here we have RBC or red blood cells or corpuscles. And we have WBC or white blood cells or corpuscles and platelets. In the second part, second category, it is liquid component plasma. So first of all, about this first category, that is particle components, let me give you a brief idea, though already you know all these things, you have studied earlier also, but let us revise one. Here in particle components, first one is RBC or red blood cells or corpuscles. Now there are about 5 into 10 to the power 6 RBC per cubic millimeters of blood in human being. Each corpuscles is a round biconcave disc and thinnest at the center. RBC of mammals have no nuclei. They are full of hemoglobin molecules which are red in color. RBC or red blood cells have lifespan of about 120 days and about 3 million red blood corpuscles die every day. But as many as 4 times of it are produced in bone marrow. Do you remember what are the functions of RBC? RBC, its main function is hemoglobin transports oxygen from lungs to body tissues and carbon dioxide from body tissues to lungs. Second particle component is WBC or white blood corpuscles or cells. So, there are about 5000 WBC per millimeter of blood on the basis of slight changes in their structure. There are 5 types such as granulocytes, agranulocytes, lymphocytes, neutrophils and eosinophils. And function of WBC, the main function of WBC is to destroy pathogenic germs like bacteria, viruses and other foreign particles which cause disease. In this way, WBCs provide immunity power to the body. And third particle component is platelets. There are about 4 lakh platelets per millimeter of blood. They are spherical and without nucleus and they are smaller than WBC in size. Functions of platelets. The main function of platelets is to help in clotting of blood when there is any injury. Now in second category, liquid components, which is plasma. Now it is the liquid part of blood in which RBC, WBC, platelets and several other substances such as glucose, amino acids, proteins, hormones, digested and auxiliary products of food are present. When blood is placed for some time, blood clotting starts. The part that remains after removing the clotting protein fibrinogen is called serum, which is straw color. Now, before we go to the network of tubes like arteries, veins and capillaries, let us know about the pumping organ in our body. What is that pumping organ? The pumping organ of our body is the heart. Okay, so let us first of all know what is the structure of heart. The heart is roughly triangular in shape. It is made of special muscle that is called cardiac muscle, and the size of our heart is about the same as our clenched fist. The heart has 4 components or called chambers inside it. Now, can you tell me why does the human heart have 4 different chambers? Okay, first of all, let us know what are those chambers. The upper 2 chambers of heart are called atria, in singular atrium, and the lower 2 chambers of the heart are called ventricles. Now, why human beings have 4 different chambers? In human beings, the heart comprises of 4 different chambers. Now, both oxygen and carbon dioxide have to be transported by the blood separately. What is the reason? That one I will discuss later on. First of all, now both the oxygen and carbon dioxide, it has to be transported by the blood separately. The human heart has 4 chambers so as to prevent the oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the blood carrying carbon dioxide. And this arrangement of circulating only oxygen-rich blood in all the tissues of the body leads to the maximum production of energy. Now, let us come back to the 4 chambers. What are the upper 2 chambers? Upper 2 chambers are called atria. Okay, atria or singular atrium. The 2 atria receives blood from the 2 main veins, and the 2 ventricles transport blood to the entire body and the lungs. The left atrium is connected to the left ventricle through a valve. Similarly, the right atrium is connected to the right ventricle through another valve. Now, these valves prevent the backflow of blood into atria when the ventricles contract to pump blood out of the heart to the rest of the body. This is because when the ventricles contract, the valves close automatically so that the blood may not go back into atria. The job of heart is to pump blood around our body. All the atria and ventricles of the heart contract and relax, that is, it expands at appropriate times and make the heart behave like a pump. Now, since ventricles have to pump blood into various organs with high pressure. They have thicker walls than atria. Is it clear? Ventricles have to pump blood into various organs of the body with high pressure. So definitely they should have thicker wall, and they have thicker wall than atria. A sheet of tissues called pericardium protects the muscular part. The chambers of the heart are separated by a partition called septum. The main artery is connected to the left ventricle of the heart through a valve. The main artery carries oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to all parts of the body except the lungs. And another artery called pulmonary artery is connected to the right ventricles of the heart through another valve. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Now I'll discuss about how the flow of blood occurs in our body. Now, flow of blood occurs through the heart. It is brought about by continuous contraction and relaxation. I told you earlier also, continuous contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles, which in turn makes the heart chambers relax or contract alternately. And this results in the blood flow into the chambers and pumping of blood into the arteries that take it to the various organs. Now, pure blood, that is oxygenated blood, is taken to left atrium through pulmonary vein. From here it goes to left ventricle. The wall of the left ventricle is 3 or 4 times thicker than the wall of the right ventricle. Can you tell me what is the reason why that left ventricle is 3 or 4 times thicker than the right ventricle? Answer me in comment box. Okay. Now, when the left ventricle contracts, blood is sent out into the arteries that carries it to defined parts of the body, from where it is collected by veins and through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava it reaches the right atrium. And impure or deoxygenated blood from the defined parts of the body is returned to the right atrium by 2 veins. Superior vena cava brings impure blood from anterior part of the body, and inferior vena cava from posterior side of the body. From right atrium, impure blood goes to right ventricle through right atrioventricular aperture. When ventricle contracts, the blood is forced to lungs, where it exchanges the gases. That is, carbon dioxide is released and oxygen is received. and the blood becomes pure and pure or oxygenated. Then again the circulation continues. It goes to left atrium through pulmonary veins. In the state of rest, the pumping rate of the heart is about 70 times a minute. For an adult person, it may go up to 150 times a minute during exercise or excitement. Now we'll go to our next point, that the separation of the right side and left side of the heart and all. Okay. Now the separation of the right side and left side of the heart prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. I told you earlier. Now why it is required that oxygenated and deoxygenated blood should be separated. Okay. Now in mammals and birds, or the mammals and birds are warm-blooded animals which have high energy needs, because they constantly require energy to maintain their body temperature. It is necessary to separate oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds, because such a separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body cells, which is required for producing a lot of energy needed by them. That is the reason why in higher animals or in warm-blooded animals, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood should be separated. And mechanism is such like that their blood, oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, it gets separated. But in case of animals such as amphibians and many reptiles, which are cold-blooded animals, whose body temperature depends on the temperature in the environment. Now, since amphibians and many reptiles do not need energy to maintain their body temperature, their requirement of energy is less. Now, if there is some mixing of oxygenated blood with deoxygenated blood, then the energy produced in the body cells is less. The animals such as amphibians and many reptiles, do you know how many chambers are there in their heart? They have 3-chambered heart and can tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, because their energy requirement is less, which can be fulfilled even if some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood occurs. In case of fish, now tell me how many chambers they have in their heart? Fish has only 2-chambered heart, which consists of one atrium and one ventricle. The fish does not have lungs, it has gills to oxygenate blood. It has gills to oxygenate blood. In a fish, the heart pumps deoxygenated blood to the gills. Oxygenation of blood takes place in the gills, and this blood From the gills, it's supplied to the body parts of the fish directly, where oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide enters into it, making it deoxygenated. This deoxygenated blood returns to the heart to be pumped into gills again. The flow of blood in a fish is called single circulation because the blood passes through the heart of fish only once in one complete cycle of the body. Now, next we'll discuss about what is double circulation. Now, we'll discuss about what is double circulation of blood in human being and what is the importance of double circulation. Now, earlier I told you that in case of fish, they have two chambers, and through this heart of fish, blood flows only once. So it is termed as single circulatory system. Then what is double circulatory system? A circulatory system in which the blood travels twice through the heart in one complete cycle of the body is called double circulation. In the human circulatory system, the pathway of blood from the heart to the rest of the body and again back to heart is called systemic circulation. Clear? And the pathway of blood from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart is called pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation. Again I am telling, in human circulatory system, the pathway of blood from the heart to the rest of the body and back to the heart is called systemic circulation. And the pathway of blood from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart is called pulmonary circulation. These two types of circulation taken together make double circulation. The double circulation is necessary to supply oxygenated blood to the whole body except lungs, and then to get deoxygenated blood reoxygenated in the lungs. So this is the importance of double circulation or the necessities of double circulation. Very important question. Now we'll discuss about blood pressure. Now what is blood pressure? Now blood pressure is the force that blood exerts against the wall of vessels. Blood pressure is measured with the help of an instrument. It is called sphygmomanometer. SPHYGMOMANOMETER. Or we can say the pressure at which blood is pumped around the body by the heart is called blood pressure. Blood pressure is much greater in arteries than in veins. The blood pressure of a person is always expressed in the form of two values called systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. The maximum pressure at which the blood leaves the heart through the main artery or aorta during contraction phase is called the systolic pressure. This high pressure in the main artery maintains a steady flow of blood in all the arteries towards the capillaries. The minimum pressure in the arteries during the relaxation phase of heart is called the diastolic pressure. The value of diastolic pressure is always lower than that of the systolic pressure. The blood pressure of a person is expressed in terms of millimeters of mercury, which is written as mmHg. Hg for mercury, mm for millimeter. The normal blood pressure values are: systolic pressure is 120 millimeter mercury and diastolic pressure is 80 millimeter mercury, which is usually written as 120 by 80. Now, high blood pressure is also known as hypertension. It is caused by the constriction of arterioles, which results in increased resistance of blood flow. Hypertension can lead to rupture of an artery and internal bleeding. After that blood pressure, we'll discuss about blood vessels. I told you earlier we are having blood vessels in different forms. Now, what is blood vessels? The blood vessels are tubes which carry blood, and there are three types of tubes which carries blood. These are arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, about these things we will discuss in the next class.